Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2. So, today we are going to be talking about perfect square trinomials. Okay, so we're going to be factoring perfect square trinomials. We've learned factoring by GCF, factoring by grouping, and now we're going to look at special trinomials that can factor actually really easily. So, just as a reminder, a trinomial is going to be something of the sort of x squared plus 2x plus 2. Okay, that's a trinomial because it has 3 terms to it. So we're looking at perfect square trinomials. So when we're talking about this, there's actually a pattern to this. So when we look at, for example, if we had x plus 2 times x plus 2, right? And I do the FOIL method. So I would do x squared plus 2x, and then here plus 2x, and then plus 4. And if I simplify this, we actually get this. So there's an actual pattern to this for perfect square trinomials. There's a pattern to this. So anytime you have, for example, x plus 2 squared, we think of that as a plus b squared. Your answer is always going to be in this form. It's always going to be a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And that's what it turns out every single time. That pattern happens every single time. Now, if this were minus, the only difference is that it's going to be a minus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, so that's just a pattern for perfect square trinomials. That means we're taking the same binomial. So a binomial, this is a binomial. We're taking the same binomial and we're multiplying it by itself. So we have x plus 3 times x plus 3. And it follows this pattern here, this a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. All right, so what I mean by that, let's look. If I multiply this out, this is going to end up equaling this. So if I look at that, my a squared, well, a was 1 here, so 1 squared is just x squared. That worked. The middle term here is 2 times a times b, right? So 1 here is my a, and b is 3. So 1 times 3 is 3, and then I multiply that by 2, and see, that gives you your middle term of 6x. And then finally, b squared would be 3 squared, which is 9. Okay, so this is what we call a perfect square trinomial, is when you're multiplying the same binomial twice, and that result of that trinomial is what we call a perfect square trinomial. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be giving you different trinomials, and you're factoring it back to the 2 binomials. Okay, it's actually a really simple process. Okay, so for example, if you have, we have x squared plus 14x plus 49. What we're going to do is we are going to look at the first term and the last term. Are they perfect squares? Okay, so some may be looking at this just x squared, but that's still a term, right? So what times what gives me x squared? And that's going to be x. So it is the square root of x squared is x. And then the square root of 49, well, that is a perfect square, and the square root of that is 7. So then we can say, or factor this down to, this is just x, and since this is a plus, we're going to say plus 7 squared. So all I did was take the square root of the first term, and I took the square root of the last term, and I put it together. And then that's it. That's all this factoring is. It's actually quite simple. Okay, so if we had x squared minus 20x plus 100. Okay, so we look at the first term and we look at the last term. Square root of x squared is just x. Square root of 100 is 10, right? So now if we look at this, this is a minus sign. So this is going to tell us when we write our binomials that we're actually going to be using a minus sign. So this is x minus 10 squared. That's what it is factored. Again, another way to write this would be x minus 10 times x minus 10. So that's it. That's factored. Okay? So let's try another one. So if we look at x squared plus 22x plus 121, right? Take the square root, take the square root. So this is x and this is 11. Notice this is a plus, or those are going to go in between. So it's just x plus 11 squared. Okay, really simple. So this takes the place of like the AC method where we would say factors of 121 that add to give us 22 and so on and so forth. So this is an even bigger shortcut that you can use. All right, now, so that works really well. Let's look at them if they get a tiny bit more complicated. So let's say I give you 4x squared plus 28x plus 49. So again, you're looking at the first term. Sorry, guys, I keep hitting that. We look at the first term, which is this 4x squared, and we look at the last term, which is 49. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 49 is 7. Again, we look at this first sign, and that tells us what's going to go in between. And that's it. That's factored. So this is actually really, really simple. Let's try some more. Let's look at some more. So, sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. Okay, so let's do 25x squared minus 20x plus 4. Okay, so again, we're looking at the first term and the last term, right? So square root of 25 is 5. Square root of x squared is x. And then the square root of 4, our last term, is 2. This is minus, so this comes down and be, whoa, that changed that. That should be a 2. Sorry about that. And then the minus sign comes down straight down the middle and then squared. You can always check it too. So you could do 5x minus 2 times 5x minus 2, and you can do the FOIL and see if it checks out, and it will. Okay. All right. Let's try another one. So let's look at 9x squared plus 24x plus 16. So again, take the square root, take the square root. So square root of 9x squared is going to be 3x. The square root of 16 is 4. This first sign is a plus, so this is a plus and squared. And that's it. Simple as that. Okay. All right. So what your assignment is, you actually have a link to a website. And on that website, it gives you a little bit of explanation at the top, and then at the bottom, it has different perfect square trinomials, and you are going to write in the answers, and then you hit check. If you get something wrong, it'll leave the boxes there for those, and you can change it, and then you hit check again, and you keep going back and forth. What I need for you guys to do is you are going to screenshot your final answer, like your final score, and that is what you're going to submit to me. Okay, again, you're going to the website, you're going to click on the website, you are going to look, there's I think 11 or 12, I can't remember off the top of my head, problems that you're going to do, and they're all perfect square trinomials. You're going to put in the answers, you hit check. If you got something wrong, you fix it, hit check again, go on, and so on and so forth to get them all correct. Okay, so I want you to keep going until you get them all correct. Now, here's a super duper important thing, and I hope you're still listening to the video. When you put it into the computer, right? So for example, if you had, let's say this problem right here that we just did, so this problem right here, the way the computer wants you to put it in would look like this, 3x plus 4, and then you do that shift 6, the little caret key, and then 2. That's the only way the computer is going to give you the correct answer. So I played around with it, and I had them all right, but I didn't write it out like that, and it counted them all wrong. Okay, so make sure that you really pay attention to that. When you're putting your answers in, they need to be in this form right here. That's super duper important. Okay, I'm not taking like the actual grade of what you got and put that in. I'm looking for, this is participation again, so you're going to get some points for it. I am going to look at how we're doing to determine whether or not we need another lesson on this, or if we can go ahead and move on to some other factoring stuff. So make sure you try your best, do it honestly, and remind your classmates that they need to get on and get some work done. Okay. Again, as always, if you have any questions, please, 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 please contact me in any way, shape, or form. It seems that Microsoft Teams has really worked well, but if you like Schoology better, I will still respond to you. So work on that. Shoot me questions if you got them. Bye, guys.